CNET ready to go? Not quite.
Is somebody's laptop on? Is everybody's laptop on mute?
Yeah, I'm not on the.
I don't know why that's that. Okay.
Zoom
It-
wasn't on you.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I thought it was. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Ready? Call this meeting to order for the Halfmoon Township Board of Supervisors. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being recorded live on CNET and CNET's YouTube channel. Next up on the agenda is citizen comments. And before we open it up to the general public, I see we have a trooper with us tonight. I assume you've brought us some news or information, or you're just here to observe?
I'm just touching base. I do have a little bit of info. You want me to go now, or?
Yeah, please go, and then you can escape if you want to, or whatever you have to do.
All right, I'll just introduce myself. I'm Lieutenant Andrew Lynn. I'm the station commander at Rockview Barracks. And was looking at your stats for this year, from January to now. We've had 9 criminal incidents and 6 crashes in your township. And we've had 99 total numbers pulled in your township. So I'm here for any questions, concerns you guys may have.
I have one.
Okay.
I've noticed over the years, number of years now, that seems like there's a lot of people speeding through the township, people passing on secondary roads. Smith Road is one of them.
Smith Road.
Seen them passing. I was passed in Stormstown. I followed a school bus one day, and I couldn't keep up with it. I know it had to have been going 60 miles an hour through Stormstown, a school bus. We've had them come down Cornfield Lane where I live, at excessive speeds, and then you hear them slam on their brakes because those brakes squeal a lot when they're trying to get stopped at the bottom of the hill. I just see a lot of speeders.
It's a problem everywhere. I'll
Yeah.
try to get the guys out here a little bit more.
I haven't seen a state trooper patrol anywhere in the township. Now, I could be missing them, but obviously. But I haven't seen a state trooper patrolling for a number of years now. I'm disappointed. I'd like to see a little bit more presence.
Okay.
We used to have some troopers that lived out here, just
Right.
driving through. That makes a difference.
Sure. I'll put that. I'll make sure.
Just the presence makes a difference. It certainly make us feel better.
Sure.
We've got some hands up.
I'll second, because I actually posted something on the Stormstown Facebook page the other day. My husband and I were driving home, and as we're entering the village at 8:30 at night, a white four-door sedan come flying by us all through the village, and then ended up turning on Smith Road, and there was a thread that kind of happened that a number of people have seen this particular vehicle passing them or doing something like that too. But I would say, in the village, there are a number of people who pass other people in the village.
If you have a reoccurring, like that vehicle, like if somebody can get the tag, or like a certain time of day, if like they're coming or going from work.
I will make a note of that. It
Just
happened so
call us-
fast that
just
we
give
were
us a
like,
call, yeah.
yeah, they
One
were
of the
gone
problems
before we
is-
could even get the plate, but
I think one of the problems is you gotta speed to catch up with them to get
Well,
the license
Right,
number.
right.
That's it.
Yeah, don't put yourself in danger or anything.
Yeah, right.
But like if it's a reoccurring thing, like every day at 3 o'clock or 3:30, this car or truck, whatever's flying through here, like give us a call.
yeah.
And,
Okay.
but I'll try to get the guys out here more. I'll set up something that
That would be greatly
makes them
appreciated,
come out through
I'm
here.
sure.
Yeah, and I would just like to say, I live along Marengo Road, and you think of Marengo Road as a very, a lot of curves on Marengo Road. Let me tell you, there's a short stretch on Marengo Road, and people must be going 80, 90 mile an hour on that short stretch. Just motorcycles, cars, just loud mufflers, just roaring through that short stretch. Frequently.
We've had some serious injuries over the years. I know one woman personally, who was on a bicycle and got hit. I think it was on
Marengo.
Marengo Road. That was Nancy.
Yeah, that was over in
Auntie's.
Ferguson, I think. But.
She's still suffering from her injuries. So,
I'll try to get
And
that.
I would say, just second what Ron said, I've lived here a lot of years, and I used to see patrols all the time when the barracks was out at Phillipsburg. And now that it's down at Rockview, I don't think I've ever seen it.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but we'll try to correct that.
And the only place I see anyone, any vehicle police, and that may even be Patton Township, looking for speeders is down in Patton Township where they sit by Grace Church. But that's not Halfmoon.
Right. Okay.
thank you very
See if
much.
we can address those issues.
If you see a big yellow truck go speeding by, that's important. It's him, leave him alone.
We do really appreciate what you're doing out there, though. We do have problems, but we.
Some days we get kind of stretched thin, but we'll.
Oh, absolutely.
We'll try to do what we can for you guys.
We appreciate anything.
Anything else? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody have anything for citizens' comments that is not on the agenda? Please come up to the microphone here.
Hi, my name is Michelle Shelberg, and I reside in Halfmoon Township, but I'm also the Center County Republican Committee Chair. And I just wanted to address that there's been a citizen in Halfmoon Township that was singled out as having a political sign in their yard, and I have a statement, an actual letter with the case that goes along with it, but that's actually against the First Amendment. You cannot restrict political signs in people's in their private property. So I'm just gonna hand that over to you tonight. It's gonna come overnight to you tomorrow.
Thank you. Anybody else? Citizens' comment not in the agenda, please.
My name is Donna Hughes, and I live on Marengo Road, and I know a number of you, and I was born here, and I lived here for probably 35, 40 years, and then I moved away for a couple decades, and then I returned back for family reasons, and I'm now retired and living here full-time. So I have a lot of longevity with the township, and I care about the township. And one of the things that has come to my attention recently, I think especially since there was some controversial resignations last spring, and that is that we need better communication. I don't know, I found out, or someone has told me, maybe this isn't true, that there are some supervisors that don't have email addresses. If I wanted to communicate with a supervisor, are there phone numbers available? How would I do that? I know that there's one email that you can send to the entire board, but what if I want to talk to you? How would I do that? And is there, what I'm asking, is there some way you could come up with a system that people could contact you either by email or have your phone numbers available, or even have office hours, a certain time that you're here once a week for people to come and talk to you? And what I'm asking is for you to come up with a plan. And another thing I'm hearing is that even when people have questions and ask them, they're not receiving responses. And when I'm told, oh, they never answer you. He never answers. And I think that as citizens of Halfmoon, we really need to be able to communicate with supervisors when we want to and get answers to our questions.
Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yes. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hi. My name's Virginia Squire, and unfortunately I can't be there tonight because of circumstances beyond my control. I have a question about procedure. If somebody is applying for a job in the township, doesn't there have to be a bid opened up? Or how does somebody, and this is kind of on the agenda, but not quite. I've noticed that there is on the agenda tonight a request to hire a cleaning person. And I was thinking, I've been attending these meetings and I don't recall any bids for cleaning coming up. So I'm just wondering about the procedure, about how one goes about applying for jobs in the township, or how the township goes about hiring someone. If you could explain that to me, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
I guess I'd have to say it would depend on what type of job it is. If you're an engineer or professional planner, though we have a professional planner through COG, but if we were to hire a professional planner, those jobs we can hire direct without putting out a bid. If it's a big job over a certain amount, then we will run an ad in the paper and look for people to come in. That's how we hired a road crew. A number of people came in and put in applications, and the board reviewed them and hired those individuals. We're looking at changing our cleaning service. It's a small minor job. It's not actually an employee, it's just a contract thing. So that's up for discussion tonight and possible adoption. Would you like to
If
come and
it's
clean
a-
our building, or is there some issue?
Well, no, I'm just wondering, if it's a contract, then I was under the impression that had to be a bid, you had to take proposals, since it's a contract.
Zach, do you want to field that?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And so the second-class township code, which governs Halfmoon Township, contains bidding requirements for certain contracts for services. And for contracts or purchases that are below $11,800, there's no formal bidding requirement or even a requirement to obtain quotes. For contracts between $11,800 and $21,900, there's a requirement to obtain 3 written or telephonic quotations, but there is no requirement to go with the lowest bidder. For purchases and contracts that are in excess of $21,900, there is a requirement that it be publicly bid and that the municipality enter into a contract, if it chooses to, with the lowest responsible bidder. So essentially, it's a question of the amount, really, is the question. If it's a relatively small contract or a relatively small amount of services, there is no formal requirement for any sort of public bidding or even quotations being obtained.
Does that answer your question?
I think it does. Thank you very much for explaining that. I think it would be to the township's benefit, since you're dealing with people who live in the township, to maybe open it up for a bid, but maybe that's just my opinion. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Questions?
I was told that I could do it now, a resolution. Hello, my name is Sharon Ravancic. I'm a resident of Halfmoon Township. I'm here to ask you to consider passing a resolution recognizing National Hispanic Heritage Month. I know I was here about a year and a half ago asking about a resolution for Asian Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and that was my grandfather, who was a farmer. But my great-grandfather, again, had the same kind of roots, like all of us here in Half Moon. He was a rancher, except in Arizona, and he came through Mexico. And I know the one house or barn down from me right now is weaning calves, and I love that sound. I think it's wonderful. And the month in 1988 was expanded from a week by President Ronald Reagan, and it celebrates all histories, cultures, and contributions from those from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central and South America. And it's important to note that 46 of approximately 1,005 households are of Hispanic and Latino descent here in Half Moon. That's according to the 2020 census. And if you look back prior to the prior census, that growth is about proportionate to what's going on in our country, that Hispanics and Latinos are among the fastest growing population in our nation. And it feels, and I remember the last time I was here asking about the other resolution, why is this important to pass a resolution? And to me, it's because we feel seen by our community, we feel welcomed by our community, and so I just wanted, I did bring one little piece of something about, this was a ballot that was my great-grandfather in 1902, when he came from Monterrey, Nuevo Leon, Mexico, to cast his first vote in Eagle Pass, Texas. So this thing is over 100 years old, and it's really a piece of family history, and I carry it around in this Ziploc bag and show my children how important it is to vote and how important our heritage is in this country. And so I would ask you to pass the resolution. And I believe, do you all have it in front of you? Was it emailed to you or sent to you somehow? Yeah? So I would ask you to pass it. I don't know if it needs to be read or not, but there it is. And I wanted to keep my comments brief, because I know I could go on quite a long time.
Anything else you want to add?
I don't think so, unless there are questions that I could answer.
On that, Amy?
It says Resolution 2022-XX at the moment.
Right.
Has to be assigned a number.
It has to be assigned a number.
We have to-
If you pass this, it changes other resolution numbers on here, and that's fine, we just need to make sure that when we adopt them, that we change those numbers. I move that we pass the resolution to recognize Hispanic Heritage Month.
And for the record, it's September 15th to October 15th. And those dates are significant for dates of independence for various South American countries.
Okay. Thank you, Sharon.
We have a motion to pass the resolution. Is there a second? Hearing no second, the motion fails. Thank you.
Thank you for considering it.
Next up on the agenda, subdivision, land development, or conditional uses in public hearings. Oh, guess I missed it. Approval of the agenda for tonight. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda as written?
I'll move, we approve the agenda.
Mr. Sabella makes a motion. Do I hear a second? Second. Mr. Beck seconds it. Motion's second. Any discussion, changes, or addresses? Hearing none, I'm going to call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion to approve the agenda is written. Subdivision land development plans or conditional uses in public hearings. Plan number 2022-05. Land development plan for Sawmill Road Antenna Project expires October the 16th, 2022. And the developer has offered to grant us a 90-day extension request to move it up to January 13th, 2023. Do we want to accept that?
Did we have any previous granting of extensions for this?
For this one?
We haven't
no.
had any for this one.
No.
So it's the first time we would grant.
This would be the first one on
Or
this. And
accept.
typically, we do grant several and have granted
Accept.
many in the past.
Yeah. Well, I move that we accept the extension of plan number 2022-05.
Do I hear a second? Second. Motion by Mr. Savello, second by Mr. Beck. Any discussion about it? No discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I do have a question, Dave. I know we've passed it. Have we actually seen the details of this plan yet?
Not yet, it's still at planning commission.
Okay. Well, it kind of makes sense to grant an extension then.
Yep, they got a ways to go, I guess. Next up, Plan 2022-02, Land Development Plan for Digman Canine Academy, revised August 25th, 2022, expires October 12th, 2022. They're asking for a resolution on the 2022-024 Component 2 Sewage Planning Module. So, what do you got on it?
So there's a completed component 2 planning module for the academy, the structure they're going to be converting into a kennel and dog training facility. There's no outstanding comments on the module. They have their 2 absorption areas and it's been reviewed by planning staff and is complete.
Can I ask, where exactly is this?
The property,
Mhm.
I believe it's 2605 Half Moon Valley Road. So along 550.
Where Richard Graham lived for a while.
Oh, okay.
Not here in town, but out next to Sam Gray.
Okay.
I guess, your business, right? You're doing a sewage planning module, obviously, to expand your business. Any idea how many employees you're looking at? Or is it just,
We have 1 administrative employee and 2 other trainers.
okay. Anybody else have any questions? Do I hear a motion to approve the resolution? This is not an approval of the plan, it is just a approval of the sewage planning module so they can send it off to DEP.
So everything's complete
Yes.
to planning satisfaction?
Yes.
Okay. I'll move that we approve, am I approving which one am I approving? 2022-24?
Yep. Component 2
Component
sewage
2
planning
sewage
module.
planning module.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Savello, second by Ms. Hoover. Any questions, discussions, concerns? Call for the question. All those in favor of approving Resolution 2022-24 signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Resolution approved. Next on, it says action on plan.
Okay, so this plan, as I mentioned, it proposes taking an existing agricultural building, converting part of that into a dog kennel and a canine training facility. It's at 2605 Half Moon Valley Road in the Agricultural Zoning District. The applicant's consultant did submit a revised version of the plan back earlier this week. Staff did a review. We had no outstanding comments. The Planning Commission took action on it. At their meeting on Tuesday night, on September 20th, they recommended approval of the plan, and that is what was noted in the memo within your agenda packet.
And the only thing outstanding right now is the DEP approval of the
Correct.
Component 2 module.
Correct. Yeah, otherwise, the plan had all of the requirements of the ordinance met.
So if you don't mind my asking, I forgive me for not checking ahead of time, but what is the proposed sewage flow numbers on the Component 2? Do you know? Folks know?
I believe it was 400. I think they designed it for
It's
180.
400, but you're in a Component 2 because of
It's a commercial.
commercial. Okay, I didn't know if there was dog waste kicking it up into the higher numbers or what. Okay. So we would be looking to approve the plan conditionally upon DEP approving the module, and there's nothing else out there.
Correct.
Do I hear a motion to approve the plan conditionally with the condition being the DEP approve the Component 2 sewage planning module?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Cervello. Do I have a second? Mr. Beck seconded. Any discussion by the board? Call for the question. All those in favor of conditionally approving the plan signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Plan conditionally approved. So once your DEP sewage planning module approval letter comes back, then you can bring your plans down to the office here and we'll come in and sign them.
Great, thank you.
Next up, plan number 2022-07, final subdivision replot of Tract 1 and Tract 2 of tax parcel 170409 in the lots 2, 3, 4, the Burns-Wilson subdivision replot. revised August 16th, 2022, expires October 25th, 2022. And we have 5 items here. The first one up is a parkland fee in lieu waiver. I think I saw Mrs. Henry out there in the audience. Do you want to come up and give us the detail, or?
Okay, the waivers we are requesting is the park fee in lieu. There's no development taking place on this property. It's within the open space preservation program, and there will be no earth disturbance. Therefore, we're asking for a waiver for the parkland fee or parkland set aside.
Okay, I guess we can do these one at a time. Do I hear a motion to waive the parkland fee for this agricultural replot? Mr. Beck made a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Ms. Hartle made a second. Any discussion by the board? Questions for Mrs. Henry?
I'm trying to, there's a lot to take in with these. And I'm just trying to understand the hardship involved in granting, in the request for a waiver. What is the purpose? Is this to settle an estate?
Yes.
Okay, I'm trying to understand why there's a hardship.
Well, the property is already in the Halfmoon Township Ag Preservation Program. It cannot be further developed.
And that will remain that way.
Yes. So it's basically, already open space, being that it cannot be developed by the property owner.
So will the purpose of subdivision be in order to settle an estate, to be able to sell a portion of the property? Is that the?
Yes, but it must remain open space.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand,
Kathy,
this.
let me come up and speak. I'm Patty Wilson Burns, and we live at 3627 Half Moon Valley Road. Our farm has been in the Wilson family since 1864, so it's over 150 years. My dad passed away in 2012, and he left the farm to my sister and me. And my sister passed away from cancer last year. Her 3 children now want their share of the farm. So we had to buy them out, and which was $750,000, which we cannot write them a check. We don't have that available to us, so we had to take out a loan for that amount to pay them off. So that's forcing us to subdivide the farm. What we are subdividing is the tillable acres on the other side of 550 from our farmstead, and the Weavers have been farming that for 30 years. We've leased it to them. And they border it by 2 sides, and then the third side, they also lease that from U. Wilson. So on 3 sides, they're already farming all that plus ours. And they were very interested in the property, so that's going to help us immensely to help pay off these loans. So that's the hardship.
That really helps me a lot.
Yes. And
I understand
does anyone
it
have
now.
any questions about that at all? That's where we are. So we don't really want to do this, but it's
No.
forcing our hand.
Understand. It's a
yeah.
difficult question to ask,
Yeah,
but I appreciate
Okay.
your answer because it helps me a lot.
sure.
Any other questions by the board? Hearing none, call for the question on the parkland fee in lieu waiver. Signify by saying aye if you approve it.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? I will abstain. Motion passes. Next up is the planning and non-building waiver. Kathy, you want to give us a rundown on that?
Okay, in discussion with the Township Sewage Enforcement Officer, Corey Warner, it was recommended that we do a non-building waiver, a DEP non-building waiver form, being that no development is taking place on this property. Now, soil testing was completed for a replacement area for the Burns existing residence. And that is attached to the DEP non-building waiver form that I would like the township to approve tonight.
I move that we approve the planning and non-building waiver.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Savello, second by Mr. Beck. Any discussion by the board? Did we get something jumbled out of order there?
No.
Okay. All right, call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any noes? I will abstain. 4-0, or 4-0-1. Motion approved, thank you. DEP planning and non-building declaration.
I'll move that we approve the DEP.
Wait a minute.
Yep.
We don't need to approve it, I'm sorry, I was just in there for your information. That's
Okay.
Oh, I'm
But-
sorry.
But we got the non-building Form B.
That's not a waiver.
Form that will need to be signed by the board.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
All right, next up is plan scale waiver.
I move that we approve the plan scale waiver for
Where's-
plan number 2022-07.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Motion second. Any discussion by the board? Hearing none, call for the question to approve the plan scale waiver. Signify by saying aye.
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 Anybody say no? I will abstain. 4-0-1. Thank you. Plan scale waiver approved. And finally, the action on the plan. Because there's no module to go to DEP. We have everything satisfied in your department?
Yeah, the remaining items were these waivers, and where you have just approved them, there's no remaining comments from staff on the plan.
Thank you. There's a motion to take action on the adoption of the plan.
I move that we approve the plan.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Sabella makes a motion, Ms. Hoover makes a second. Any discussion by the board? Hearing none, call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? I will abstain. Motion approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from August 25th, 2022. Everybody had a chance to review those minutes? All i's dotted, t's crossed. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of August 25th, 2022?
I move that we approve the minutes of August 25, 2022.
Do I hear a second? Ron moves. Chuck seconds. Any questions, discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes approved. Next up, consent agenda, ratify payments of the bills list for the period of 8/20/2022 to 9/02/2022 from the following funds. General fund in the amount of $32,308.97, and the highway liquid fuels fund in the amount of $127,301.87. And I guess we could do B at the same time. Approve the payment of the bills list for the period of 9/03/2022 to 9/16/2022 from the following funds. The general fund, $166,588.05. The open space preservation fund, the amount of $1,073. Park and recreation fund, the amount of $2,999.62. And transfer $100,000 from the open space checking to the open space money market account. To recognize the Fire Prevention Week 2022 in the United States, it will begin on Sunday, October 9th, and end on Saturday, October 15th. And to establish trick-or-treat night from October 31st, on October the 31st, from 6 to 8 p.m.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I hear a second.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion by the board? Call for the question. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion approved. Action items, Resolution 2022-25, First National Bank authorized signers memo. This is just to establish signatures on the account. Am I correct in that? Or
You
will-
are. If you remember at the last meeting, we discussed moving the accounts to First National Bank and also consolidating them. I was able to meet with them, get all that handled. At this point, the memo states, I don't know if all five of you have had a chance to look, how those consolidations occurred, what's moving where, if it's moving at all. And it's just getting the signature cards so we can keep things rolling.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll move that we approve the resolution.
Ron makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Chuck seconds. Motion second. Any discussion by the board? Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Credit card application approval.
Yeah, so pretty much going hand in hand with the bank, once we change bank accounts, our credit card is moved. It belonged to the Pliget, they were partners. So now we need to partner with First National Bank to get a new credit card established. I met with them at the same time to discuss things, how they would work. It's gonna benefit the township by far, make things a lot cleaner, paper trail easier to track, those sort of, nice things come audit time. I gave in this memo a before how things were done and then an after how we see them going forward. Staff's recommending the typical credit limit a municipality gets or most businesses gets 50,000. It's just the standard starting amount. Staff's recommending having 3 cards, one that's belonging to the administration office, one to Public Works, and one for supervisor travel expenses. On rare occasions, you go to PSATs or things of that nature. As far as the limits, they're set up the way they are because 25,000 for the administration, we're planning on starting to pay next year if we can, utilities and things, using that to get away from the cost of paper checks. 10,000 gives the Public Works some wiggle room, if they can buy a piece of equipment instead of opening credit accounts a bunch of places. And then 3,000 for the travel expenses, just keep it low. Credit card theft can happen if you're out and about. Keep it low, keep the, the threat level low. That gives a $12,000 buffer that is not assigned to a card, where if we need to temporarily increase one of those cards, we have that ability.
Is there a daily limit on any of the cards without prior approval?
I can tell you what, we have a gentleman in the crowd. I asked him to come for any questions you may have if he wants to come on up. He can come up to the hot seat and answer any questions you may have regarding any of First National Bank's changes.
Okay. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Mike Shuey. I'm the government banking officer for First National Bank, Central Mountain Region, and my office is in State College, Pennsylvania. So, any questions you might have?
Well, I guess my big one is is the township able to place a limit on any of the cards, like on a daily limit?
A daily limit?
Yeah.
There's an overall card limit you can establish for each card, which would be a daily limit.
Okay, that's how that works then.
yeah.
So if, let's just say, everybody goes to PSATs, not that I do, but if everybody did and it was $1,000 a day,
Right.
we had $1,000 limit set, then the next day it would still be good for another 1,000, correct?
Right.
All right. We just make sure nobody, runs off and buys a Ferrari in the
Sure.
afternoon.
And if something would happen that you would have to temporarily raise that limit, that Brett could do that online as well, and then reduce it when you're done with the conference or whatever.
Being that you are the governmental guy, I assume, is there does that card automatically take off PA sales tax for municipal purchases?
You can set it up that way if you'd like to. We can do that through the application process.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I had. Anybody else? Anything you'd like to advise us about that you're here?
No, I appreciate your business, and just one thing about the credit card, we do not require a personal guarantor signature as well, so that's kind of an advantage to
Well,
the
you got the
township.
township, so.
I'm sorry. All right.
All right. Brett, you looking for a motion, or?
I am. That motion that's down on that memo
Okay.
would be perfect if you guys want to read that, because it's standard what the bank would like to see.
I'll move that the Board of Supervisors of Half Moon Township, they're hereby authorize Brett G. Laird, Township Treasurer, and David C. Piper, Supervisor Chair, to be the authorized signers for Half Moon Township and to apply on behalf of Half Moon Township for a business solution credit card account, credit limit of $50,000.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Ms. Hoover seconds. Any discussion by the board? Comments, concerns? Hearing none, call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Next up, to appoint Douglas Workman, P.E., to serve on the Center Region Building and Housing Board of Appeals, to complete Mr. Maholtz. Am I saying that correct?
Yeah.
3-year term from September 1st, 2022 to March 30th, 2024. Do I hear a motion to appoint Mr. Workman?
I move that we approve the appointment.
Do I hear a second? Mr. Beck seconds. Mr. Cervello makes a motion. Any discussion by the board?
This was brought up at COG previously. So I think we're affirming what I think everybody agreed should happen. We're making it official.
Any other discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Open Space Preservation Board recommendations for solicitor review of the Open Space Preservation Board criteria, recommendations for application denial language. Currently, it's my understanding, unless somebody else wants to handle this discussion, it's my understanding that if at some point somebody brings a property in for application to Open Space Preservation Board, there's not a clear process for denial of that application. I know the Open Space Review Board has taken a look at this, and Patty, do you want to just give a rundown of, since you're on the OSPB?
Basically, on the open space, I mean, just like any application, legally, we can deny an application, but we felt it best, and with talking to Zach, that we have something specific in there that would say what circumstances would we deem it viable to deny an application. And the two main areas where that would fall would basically be funds, being able to financially support the lease if that application was accepted over the 99-year lease program. And the second one was also the quality of the land. We do have a land rating system that every application that comes into the Open Space Board, we run through the land rating. And if it would come, show that it wasn't a desirable piece of property to benefit the township and the intent of this program, then that would be another reason, or even both of those in combination. So we just wanted the language crafted around, that we can legally deny the application, and that it would also fall under those, primarily under those circumstances would be what the Open Space Board would be looking at, concerned with, that we accept something that we couldn't either financially support, or it wouldn't be beneficial to the township and under the auspices of the program.
I think this is something also that the 5-year review committee agreed to, that
They
shouldn't
said
happen.
that the recommendation came back that we should strengthen our ordinance to that, and this is in response to that recommendation from the review committee.
Right, I was the chair of that committee, so.
Any other discussion on the subject? Do I hear a motion to authorize Zachary Rice, our solicitor, to write up that information and put it forward for the board to review and possibly advertise?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Hartle seconds. Any discussion by the board? Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Discussion and possible action to appoint a lease cleaning service to clean and maintain the municipal building. We have a proposal. Do I hear a motion to appoint Elise Cleaning Service for cleaning the building effective immediately?
So moved.
Have a motion. Do I hear a second? Arnold made a motion. Mr. Beck seconded. Any discussion by the board? Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. 2023 roadwork plan, county liquid fuels funds. Who wants to tackle that?
So Jim asked me to take the lead on this. So this is a preliminary list of road projects for 2023. This is mainly to satisfy state liquid fuels funding that we will have available for next year. So all you supervisors have a list in front of you of these projects, broken down with some cost analysis from Mr. Franson. These are in no way listed in order of importance. These are just listed purely to give you the information. So we have multiple different roads here in our township this year that could use work now. Some of these are much worse than others, but there are certain things that we feel that we have to take care of now to save something long term. And there are other projects that, you know, maybe they are a little bit too far past that, you know, very, very quick go in and do the kind of a seal coat over top of them. So one of the main ones I want to bring to your attention tonight, because of the opening for the liquid fuels grant coming up, I believe opens tomorrow, is Lutz Lane. So this would be approximately 800-foot section of Lutz Lane. This is in the section of Ira and Donna Circle, somewhere in that range. It's a very bad spot right now. We have some base repair that we need done, as well as top coating that section. That wouldn't be a complete road repair right in that section, but I feel in discussion for, like I said, liquid fuels grant money opening up, this would be one of our most important ones. But then also we have Sawmill Road that we were talking about. We're doing a kind of a sealer coat on that because there is very little sections of base issue there. But then we proceed with Toe Hill. There are some more base issues there that actually Public Works would potentially go in-house to try to save some money and, you know, get more with those liquid fuels dollars that we may have available there. As well as, so that would be the whole length of Toe Hill Road, and sorry, the whole length of Sawmill Road as well. Buckhorn Road, that is right now on a preliminary list. We are mostly speaking about the top section of Buckhorn, which would be from that cul-de-sac area down to approximately 211 Buckhorn Road, due to a lot of cracking in that area, which is, you know, due to shade and some water issues that we have been working on. The next one would be Chanelli Drive. This one is also a section of that, which would be approximately a half mile, and we would go in and repair a portion of Lynn Circle as well, which is right there at the intersection of Chanelli. And there is some base repair there that would need done, and then going back and doing top coats on that. So like I said, these are some of the projects that we're proposing for 2023. My focus tonight would be to speak more on the Lutz Lane repair, moving forward with our grant monies opening up.
So you still have to do some prioritizing on the list, right?
Yes, we would have to
This
do
is
some
the
more.
okay.
Yes. Yep, like I said, this is the first step.
The grants wanna see a safety improvement.
Right.
We think Lutz is the best one cause we have crumbling shoulders in these areas. The road's going. So it's just to go after grants.
So what do we need to do tonight?
Well, we would need to know that you're okay with these projects to try to fill out the application for the
Mhm.
Center County Liquid Fuels grant money, so.
On the Center County Liquid Fuels grant money, are they gonna limit us to one project? We'd have to pick a
You-
project?
It's not limited to one. I mean, we have put two in at a time. I haven't seen more than two, like, put in at a time, but, yeah, you can put more than one in.
Is there a dollar amount, is there a specific dollar limit that we can apply for, or does it really depend on?
Well, they have a limit of how much they have to
Yeah.
bestow,
Right.
so, I mean, we're kind of advised to, don't try and be hoggy.
Is that that's their bridge money that they give out, isn't it? The county gets from the state?
I'm not sure where it comes from, but.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of times what they tend to do is if they can give it to a bridge project, they do. But in instances of us where we don't really have any,
Oh, we have bridges.
we've been, well, not in the aspect of other municipalities, so they tend to give us more if we ask for smaller ticket items. They can have that ability to throw the money our way. That's, at least from Don's experience, that's what he's been sharing with us.
Does Dawn and the crew, I know Dawn's not here, but does the road crew, and Dawn, I know you guys talked about this, is there any particular project, I mean, you mentioned Lutz Lane twice. Do you feel that's the gold standard for, getting the county money, or?
So, yeah, I mean, that's been discussed. They are definitely looking for what is a bigger safety concern right now. Looking at the projects we have, there are definitely road safety concerns, but then there's also maybe some pedestrian safety stuff, where Lutz Lane, on our travels out there, I see a lot of people walking the roadsides, whether it be walking their dogs out there or whatever. I just feel with maybe the crumbling that we have right there, especially on the roadsides, that maybe this would be more benefit. I will say that probably there's no probably about it. The absolute two worst sections that we have in the township on heavily traveled roads would be Lutz Lane and the Chanelli Drive project. We just kind of felt, we were just chatting here before the meeting and thought, well, the Lutz Lane might be an easier retrieval of the grant funding. So that was why I wanted to focus on that for discussion tonight. Like I said, all these projects are very important. We can go back and look at some of the history things, and it definitely involves many of these roads. But that, like I said, that's why discussion was up for that particular project due to dollar amount and just kind of looking at some parameters that they like to see when we're asking for that grant money. But all definitely important projects for us moving forward next year, as well as some others.
I haven't looked for a while, but what's the county allocation for grant money for the total county?
I'm not sure.
Anybody know offhand what they're giving out?
Not off.
I know I asked Don and he wasn't sure right at that particular
Well,
moment
if he doesn't know,
either,
nobody
so.
knows.
I'm sure he has it, but I caught him off guard.
Do I hear a motion to pursue one or more projects by the board for county liquid fuels?
I'll move that we pursue the projects that our road crew, public works department feels are the most important.
I'll second it.
And a motion and a second. Any discussion by the board? I do have a question since Ron's turning it over to you guys, so we'll blame you when it doesn't work, but,
This is a combined effort. So
well, I know.
There's a number of us to blame, but we'll take it.
But generally, I've found it's better to submit one project and write a real good story than it is to do multiples. But if you guys get some pictures and things you can submit with that might be helpful.
Okay.
So, but it's all about the safety thing.
Yeah.
And Dave, just to clarify, this is for the grant funding. These others, this is also giving us a heads up of what we're gonna probably be looking at when we go into budgeting too,
Yep.
Yes.
for next
Yep.
year, so. The others will get prioritized during budgeting.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Very good. Any other questions by the board? Hearing none, call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Thanks, guys. Discussion items. Discussion on Smith Road speed reduction, speed study quotes.
I am the one that requested it for Smith Road. Very familiar with traffic, the amount of traffic, the volume of traffic, the speeds. And I find that speeds are pretty excessive on that road. It's a throughway in a lot of ways. I've seen people go, they use that road to access Marengo Road, for example. You can also use 550 to access Marengo Road. I see a lot of traffic, more traffic, and I walk the streets of the township quite often. And I see more traffic on Smith Road than any other road that I've ever been on. And most people drive one speed, and it's fast. So I suggest, and I've suggested it before to past boards, that the speed limit be reduced. It's a secondary road. It's not a main road like 550. And I think speeds are excessive. So I'd like to see the speed reduced on the road, but my understanding is to even consider doing that, you have to do a speed study.
Traffic study.
Yeah. And that's done by the township. It's not, PennDOT's not involved, doesn't need to be involved.
But they do eventually approve whatever we do for speed limits based on our information.
I don't know that.
Okay, that goes through our PennDOT rep.
I think the quote is $1,100 some odd dollars, $1,125 to do the study. It's required in order to consider reducing the speed limit. So I would ask the board to consider approving that amount, approving those dollars in order to do the study. That's my request. It's not it's not up to me, but that's what I'd like to see happen.
You trying to do that before the end of the year, or you want to put that in the budget for next year?
I'd like to do it now if we can.
Well, I guess we'll have to ask the man at the end of the table with the
Do we
knowledge on
have
the
to?
finances. Well, we have to allocate spending money,
Right.
obviously.
1,100's so insignificant, it'll fit in most of your line items for roads.
We're just checking.
No, that's perfectly fine. No, that would be sufficient.
The other thing I noticed that all the other secondary what I consider secondary roads, I'm not an expert at road design, but most of the roads in the township are 25 miles an hour. I think this is more an exception than it is the rule. I think Marengo Road's 35. I don't know, what the classification of that road is compared to Smith. I mean, Smith Road is a neighborhood road. 38 years ago when I moved out here, there weren't near as many houses. Now there's a lot of houses along the road. And there's a lot of deer too. So I think it's important to be consistent and to consider the increased population and the increased traffic on the road.
Okay, well, you want to make a motion?
I move that we approve the allocation of $1,125 to do a traffic study on Smith Road.
Do I hear a second? I'll second.
Okay, we have discussion.
Yep.
So the sole purpose of this study is to look at potentially reducing the speed limit from its current 35 miles per hour down to whatever the study says could potentially be
Right.
doable.
I think there's minimums too as well as maximums. So.
Right, but it's currently 35 and people aren't obeying it. So if we lower it to 25, it doesn't seem like
You have
that's
more
good.
people not obeying it.
Right. It seems like there's another different issue here, and I don't know what, than lowering the speed limit, because really, if we lower it, what's gonna change if there's not either consensus among the people that they shouldn't be driving that fast, or there's more enforcement?
I
don't
would
know what's-
certainly like to see enforcement.
I don't know what's gonna change,
To make
though,
the,
just
the
lowering
speed
the
limits
limit.
pertinent. That would certainly be, a little enforcement goes a long way.
Because if people did travel 35, I think that would be, or below, that would be reasonable for that road, but, so.
Part of that traffic study, because I know you looked into it, Ron, are they gonna give us, radar speeds on all the vehicles and
I
traffic
have
counts?
no idea
Okay.
what they're going to do.
I know how they were done, 25 years ago, but that's not the same as what they're probably doing today.
But isn't it more, wouldn't it be more of a, is it more of an evaluation of the road and the road type and what's around it than really?
Looking
than
at
the-
radii,
They
traffic.
will measure speeds, average speeds.
Oh, will they?
They'll put devices out that, I believe,
Yes, yeah, yeah.
to measure speeds. And the other thing I wanted to say was, speed limits have psychological effect. The higher the speed limit, the more people will exceed that speed limit and think that they're reasonable, that it's reasonable for them to do so. The lower the speed limit, yes, they may still speed, but I think it will have the effect of lowering that speed just by virtue of having a lower speed limit. Go ahead.
I'd also like to suggest that on weekends, and I'm assuming that these traffic studies take place over 7-day, 24-hour.
They'll meet whatever PennDOT requires to do the
Because
study.
we get a lot of traffic on weekends of people coming to the Autumn Meadow Park who aren't from the area, who travel at high speeds, or park on the shoulder at the park and then pull out and there's kids running around. And so, it might be a good idea for them to see a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit sign because they're not familiar with the area. They don't know necessarily what it's like to drive on
You
that
don't know
road.
the hard right turns up there.
You don't want to be in front of them when they're trying to make the game.
Yeah, and again, when they're leaving the game, they all park, they pull in on the grass along the road, and then they back out between each other and the sign and other trees. So, the traffic study should also take that into consideration, that it's not just the people in the school bus driving at 50 miles an hour down that road. It's people coming on the weekends from out of town to play football and baseball and stuff like that.
And I'm guessing too, they'll always, maybe you brought up a point too, also look at maybe sign placement, like where things should be. And this will all just be coming in a what's doable or as a recommendation. Then we would have to take action to implement any of that. So this is just to allow the study, not necessarily to
This would be the
implement
study
anything.
with recommendations, and then the board would have to make a decision to actually lower the speed limit in conjunction with our PennDOT personnel. Yes,
Donna,
please.
One of the things that might consider, and I know this might be premature because you haven't done the study yet, and that is to lower the speed limit in a park limit, because I think I've seen a lot of places where once you enter an area that there's a park, the speed limit is further reduced. Like it would be 35 on Smith Road, but when you got to the section of Autumn Park, it would be 25. And I don't know how many signs are there too. Are there signs warning that there's a sharp turn, things like that? And, reduce speed to 20 on a couple places of sharp turns, and I don't know whether those kind of things might help.
I think a study would also answer the question of, how many signs do we need? What is the required spacing? Because I don't think these things have been addressed as long as I've lived here.
PennDOT does come down to the township every year, and generally they'll grab our road crew or a supervisor, and they wanna go around, they wanna look at the roads, they'll check mileage. And if we add a road or delete a road, they're out here. It seems like when you're a township, you ought to have control of your own roads, but we really don't. We can decide which projects we wanna pave, but PennDOT will review everything that we do. And then they audit us at the end of the year. We don't just get to say, okay, we're gonna put X number of ton of asphalt down here, have a nice day. Or put signs up here and there. We have specific regulations that we have to follow. But your idea is a very good one.
Yeah, but I would think certainly that would approve of a lowered speed limit along in an area where there's a park,
Yep.
warning on sharp turns.
Anybody else in the audience?
It is a safety issue.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Any more discussion by the board? Okay. Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nay? You guys, yay or nay down there?
We went for it,
Okay.
but reluctantly.
All right, motion approved.
No, that's not what that's about.
All right. Discussion on allocation of funds for the purchase of materials for Eagle Scout project. I see one scout in the room, and
I've invited Thomas Spanos, who's handling doing an Eagle Scout project at our township parks, to come in and present his plan, which will require us to allocate money to pay for the materials to complete his plan. So, Thomas, you want to come up and sit there and introduce yourself, and then give us just a brief summary of your Eagle Scout project, which I'm working with him on, by the way, to help him.
So my name's Thomas Spanos. I'm working on an Eagle Scout project. I'm a life scout with Troop 380, and one of the Eagle Scout that I was started to plan was like repairing some of these picnic tables under the pavilion over here, replacing the tops of 2 of them because they were kind of like not in the best condition, and replacing like a couple things to help support a couple of the benches, and repainting the tables because the paint's kind of chipping away, and then also replanting a couple of trees over here at Autumnwood Park that have died. It was...
There are 4 trees.
Yeah, 4 trees.
has your scoutmaster reviewed your tentative plans?
Not yet. We wanted to come to you guys and
See
make
if
sure
the
everything was
township's willing to
okay. Yeah.
participate.
I think we had a budget somewhere around $1,100, was it? Or $1,000? Trees are expensive these days. And I made a deliberate attempt to find native species, trees that are least susceptible to blight or damage, either excessive sunlight or improper drainage or too much drainage. But I've looked at red maples and pin oaks, which are pin oaks are especially beneficial to wildlife, as I've read. Hard to come by though. The red maples seem to be readily available. We could do red buds. Red buds tend to spread. Now you get seed pods and they tend to spread pretty easily. I think the red maples would provide an aesthetic aspect. In the fall they turn a bright red. They're very pretty. We already have sweet gum trees, we have oak trees, and other types of trees at the park. So I think they would be a positive addition to the park.
So you're talking over at Autumn Meadow?
Autumn Meadow Park.
But the benches are here at
Yes.
Municipal Lane Park?
This started out as a project to build a food pantry. It's a very small food pantry, and we were thinking of placing it somewhere in the parking area out here. The problem with that is you have to build a structure that's very durable. Number one, you have to be able to secure it against weather, against rodents, insects. It have to be maintained. It'd be an extensive project, and I'm not sure how it would hold up. The other factor we considered, or I considered, in advising Thomas, was that the Halfmoon Fellowship, Halfmoon Fellowship Church holds regular food giveaways. They provide food to the public on a regular basis. So it kind of, at that point, considering the potential costs and the potential level of maintenance, that we would take a different approach. We should take a different approach.
Good idea, but maybe we can figure out another mechanism on that.
Yeah, so this was something that came up, and I guess you have to have your plan reviewed
Yes.
Is it by the Scout Council or?
I take it to our troop committee, and then if they approve it and make a couple changes, then I would make those changes and then send it to council, like in our region. And then they would also.
District advancement chairman, who's on the district committee.
Okay.
And then they would review it and make changes, and then
So you're asking us for, I guess, support in of the project, and how many dollars are you looking at?
it's 1,670 for the materials of like wood, paint, and the trees.
Mr. Finance, is this an issue?
No, because, at the beginning of the year, you guys had 14,000 for park maintenance. 9,500 of it was the tennis court, but that hit a snag, so you have plenty of park money at this point.
All right, do I hear a motion to support our young scout leader here?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion by the board?
What part of fundraising are you going to take upon yourself?
Going to Lowe's and asking for some sort of discount or donation of any materials.
Okay, are you going to fundraise towards this $1,600 at all? I have two Eagles,
Mhm.
and I know they fundraised all of the money that they needed for their projects. So I'm wondering if you're going to do any fundraising on your own also.
I mean, just going to the Lowe's and asking for donations. Sometimes people do fundraisers, but sometimes people just go to the township and they just pay out or just pay for the project.
The other thing, if you want to do fundraising or if you want to solicit donations, where would a person send, or who would they make the donation out to? Where would they send it? Do you know that, or?
I'm not exactly sure on that.
That's something that you might want to, we want to talk about
Mhm.
and get that information out. Because you might just get donations that would help defray the cost of the project, reduce the expense to the township.
And it's your tax money. It may not be your tax money now, but it's your parents' tax money.
I think I know one person that would probably want to donate to your project.
All right. So we call for the question?
And that's just a budgetary item at this point? It could be less? Can we treat it that way?
Yeah.
You can say up to.
Up to 1,600. Okay, I move that we allocate a budgetary amount up to $1,600 for the Eagle Scout project, for the work done to the parks.
We have a previous motion.
Oh, we do?
I think we do, don't we?
We do, Chuck,
Yeah.
Chuck, Ron, we're two.
Sorry, Chuck.
So,
Do you want to rescind?
So
your
we already
motion?
I rescind my motion.
You rescind your second.
Chuck made the motion, so all Chuck has to do is say
yeah.
up to the 1,600 and we're good to go.
Okay, up to the $1,600.
I'll
good
second
to
his
go.
motion.
All right, moved and seconded. Thank you. Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved.
Thank you.
Make us proud.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Next up, topsoil update.
Where to begin? There's been discussion we have a significant quantity of unscreened topsoil that's been sitting at the maintenance yard for a number of years. I guess it's residual from the park project. So there's a couple things here. One is, first of all, we do need a portion of that topsoil for use, but most of it we probably do not need. And we need space in the yard for other materials that the public works crew needs to order. For example, stone, where the price is locked in till the end of the year. So it's to our advantage to buy that stone before the end of December. Of course, we want to get it before the weather gets too bad. And so we really want to get rid of a big portion of this pile of topsoil. So we got together, we measured the amount approximate amount comes out to something on the order of 318 cubic yards of unscreened topsoil. So the next step was to determine the value of that topsoil. So I went to several sources for that information. One was, I went to HRI, who referred me to Scott's Landscaping. Scott's Landscaping gave me a estimate of value. I forget exactly what that number is, Brett.
1,500.
Was that from Scott's Landscaping?
Correct.
That doesn't sound right. I thought it was 1,700 something.
I'm reading the email right here, 1,500.
Okay. Amaron gave us gave me a verbal estimate. I think it was $75 a load for 20 loads, which is 1,500. That's what their estimation came out to. And then I got a third estimate of value from Ken Gillum, Ken's backhoe service of 1,800. So in my opinion, that it has a value of $1,800 from those three estimates of value. I did talk at length with these different places. I talked to Hawbaker, I talked to HRI, Amaron, Scott's Landscaping, and Ken Gillum. I also talked to Countryside Nursery, said they were interested in it, but they haven't been out to even look at it. They may, but what I'm finding is that the cost of topsoil, a lot of the cost of topsoil is the labor that goes into loading trucks, plus the cost of the vehicles and the fuel and the transportation. So
And sifting it.
yeah, well, if you're sifting it, and this is unscreened topsoil, so it's got rocks in it and other things. So that really reduces the actual value of the dirt itself. And it also depends on market, how much is available and what the demand for it is. And what I'm finding out from talking to these guys is that there's not a huge, there's not a real small limited supply and a huge demand. So that further reduces the value. But I understand that if we do establish the value at 1,800, that we can then advertise the topsoil for sale by the load. Is that correct, Brett? Or
No.
we have to determine the value by load.
Because it came under the $2,000 threshold, the second-class township code just states there has to be a resolution.
Okay.
Where you guys discuss
That's right.
procedure of how it is sold. So at this point, your guys' next step is to pass this resolution stating that the township, whoever they designate, can begin selling the load as long as it stays roughly, the highest quote we had was 1,800, which is $90 a load. So anywhere between $75 to $90 a load, whatever the township sees fit. You can start that process, but this resolution needs passed.
And we have a resolution 2022-26, right?
Correct.
Do we have to read the entire resolution? Or?
You do not.
Okay. I move that we approve resolution 2022-26 for the sale of the unscreened topsoil that we have at the Halfmoon Township maintenance yard.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Seconded.
Motion and second, discussion. Any other?
Question. How long is this process gonna take? We're gonna take a year selling a load at a time to get rid of the pile, or
I think
somebody
we
gonna
have to
take the
limit-
20 loads?
I think we have to limit the time to whatever time you guys can live with.
I was gonna say, the purpose of making it a township designated person is now you guys are handing it off to these guys to get it out of their way however they see fit, as long as it abides by the resolution of staying less than 2,000 for the entire pile, which we're getting quotes that the whole pile's not even worth that, so.
Right.
So it's up to these guys at this point.
Let me just add that every one of these sources for this information were interested in the topsoil. I don't think you're gonna have problems selling it for $90
I guess
a
my
load.
question is, are we gonna sell it by the load, or are we gonna sell
I think
it
that's
the
up
whole
to them to
thing?
figure out is what Brett's saying.
Oh, okay.
He's giving them the right to sell it as long as the whole thing doesn't sell for more than $2,000.
I'm fine with it, let's just
Correct.
get it out of there. So,
And they have to make the decision on how much of it they would want to keep. That's really your call.
so think hard. All right, motion second, any more discussion? Call for the question, all those in favor of approving the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Resolution approved. All right, cyber liability insurance quote. Amy, I guess that's yours, or Brett? Brett, you're talking, you're on again, I guess.
I am.
Cyber liability insurance quote.
All right, so Monday of this week, Amy and I met with JP of Doty and Hench to discuss all of our insurances, and he inquired if we were interested in cyber insurance because all the municipalities around the entire state are seeing a high phishing scam kind of, whole scheme going on where they get an email, it looks perfectly normal. It looks like HRI wants you to wire the money. There's just a period within that email that's off, and you're wiring money to someone that who knows where they're at. So he recommended adding cyber insurance to our policy. He said he'd get us a quote. This rolled in at about 3:30 this afternoon. For next year, for the September to September year, they're quoting us at $2,566.90. I can tell you, based on the different quotes in comparison, this is cheap compared to the insurance market boomed. A lot of places with more population are seeing 12% increases. Ours are staying steady or even decreasing. So again, this is quite low for cyber insurance, so we lucked out on that aspect.
What's the name of the company, Brett?
Which company?
For the insurance.
The Apogee, I assume is how you pronounce that insurance group. I've never heard of them, to be
Apogee,
100% honest.
Berkshire Hathaway, okay.
This is just who Doty and Hench went through a broker, and that's who came up with the best price.
Brett, that also includes like ransomware, that whole.
Yep, the whole 9 yards.
And I think most municipalities now in the state, or a good portion of them, have.
A lot of them are required to.
Are required.
Yes, for different size purposes. We are technically small enough to not require, but your smart bet is to just jump on board.
And how does that go in or conflict or conjoin, I guess, with we have IT through State College Borough?
Correct.
Have you spoken with any of them on their recommendation?
We had to answer some questions on behalf of how secure we were. A lot of those questions were hit or miss, so they recommended, a lot of the other regions are bigger, so they're already seeing it. So they're pretty much on board with anything we need.
This is our own insurance then, this is our
Correct.
own policy.
Correct.
There's no opportunity to participate in a larger group policy with the center region or anybody like that?
Not at the moment. There's nothing. That could be something they tackle in the future, but for right now, no.
Okay.
This just covers under cyber attack, not a lightning strike, not any of that stuff.
I didn't go through the policy page by page.
I'm not trying-
Generally, what you're going to want it for is your cyber attacks.
Yeah.
Yes.
When do you need an answer?
Now, because I
Oh.
think the policy resets in 3 days. So,
Do I hear a motion? Chuck made a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Patty seconds. Any discussion by the board? And I assume we have money to cover this?
yes.
Okay. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. All right. Department reports, treasurer's report. Right, you're on again.
I sure am. Through August, the general fund had 1.3 million. The township had a total of 2.5. Really, the only thing I want to add is about a week ago now, we received our second ARPA funds deposit in the amount of $148,732.71. That gives the township a grand total of $297,886 855.88 that will eventually keep gaining interest as it stays. It's currently in a money market with First National Bank. It's gaining pretty decent interest. Coming up in the next month or so during budget talks, you guys will have to start at least discussing how you want to spend it specifically. How it's going to need reported is just a revenue loss. The feds opened that up earlier this year at this point, or late last. I'm not sure the time frame of it. They saw a lot of people struggling because it was too strict on how to spend this money. They opened it up to have a 10 million threshold for different government entities. As you can see, we're nowhere near that threshold, so we're quite good there. So we just have to report it as a revenue loss. There are still certain things we want to stay away from spending it on. It sounded like, just from talks individually on occasion, roads, buildings, something tangible is where we're going with it. But that, for now, is the only update I have on that.
Okay. Any questions for Brett on treasurer's report? Tax collector's report.
It's the same that it's been the last few months, trickling in little by little as the year closes
Millions,
out.
just millions, right? Okay, building code, zoning, anything official that we should be concerned about?
We issued four zoning permits for August.
All right, budget report.
As of the last bills list, so September 16th, the general had a surplus of $313,000. I can tell you, just as of today, we did get the municipal pension state aid as well as foreign fire relief in. Now the foreign fire relief, obviously what comes in goes right out. We're a pass through. But the pension state aid actually came in about $7,000 to $8,000 more than expected. So things are looking up on the intergovernmental revenue side of things, because also the ARPA funds came in higher because we got a portion of the unused ARPA funds. Some communities did not, for one reason or another, apply for those, so the extra got redistributed to us. I think we got an extra $400. Not much, but hey, we'll take it.
We could buy a tire for our truck.
We can.
Anything else? Anything on the balance sheet?
Nope, nothing that was already discussed.
Public Works report. I know the Public Works has been busy.
Oh, okay.
We do this.
All right. Public Works has been busy out there doing some maintenance items. We've been trying to replace signs, going through some of our old sign inventory and getting things up where they belong. Also out trying to work on our stormwater projects as weather permits and things right now. One of the big things I want to say is the stormwater projects on Smith Road are still on hold due to pipe issues. That's a manufacturer issue. So I am not quite sure how this is going to work out as we end the year out. We're crossing fingers to see if we get supplies, but it may not happen. So that's something that, we'll have to discuss with Brett and make sure that, funding wise, we're okay. With that project kind of hanging over us, but all other projects are going well.
Good.
So just trying to pull together things here for the end of the year and talking about lots of projects for next year. And got lots ahead of us.
Any question for the road crew? Any questions? Keep up the good work out there.
Thank you.
Thanks. Supervisor Reports is next, and I just wanted to remind everybody that as far as I know, and maybe you can confirm, Patty, the Monday night is the COG General Forum. We need a majority of the board at least there.
It's actually Thursday night, Dave, for this
Oh,
month.
they've moved it.
Yeah, we talked about that I did mention that last time. It's has to do with the budgeting things, but yeah, this month it is on Thursday, the 29th at 7 p.m.
Okay.
So, and it will, as far as I know, still on the agenda is the COG building
Yep.
addendum vote, so, to the
If we
contract.
can get people there, that'd be a good thing.
Yeah, so Thursday at 7, the 29th. And also, I'll just go ahead, Thursday starts I'm on the finance committee, and our budget meetings are starting Thursday, and they're spaced out over the next week or two, so we're gonna be looking at this, the detailed budget.
The big detailed budget.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anybody have anything else? Anybody have any, well, I guess we can move on. Good and welfare. Anybody have anything for the good and welfare of the township?
Oh, I wanted to point out something. The tennis court project is delayed due to material shortages. The contractor cannot get the materials to complete the work. He did do the leveling. He didn't finish the leveling because you don't want to do that until you're prepared to put the finished surface, put the various surfaces down. So the tennis court's out of commission for the year until spring. The locks are on the gates, and there's nothing we can do about it. It was unexpected.
We'll hope they can get materials next year.
He's going to make sure the materials are there. The problem is just delaying getting them. And he doesn't want to try to do something in November.
You'll have a mess.
It won't work. So we're talking about concrete work. You know, we're going to be starting to see frost. So it's just not possible. He could get the materials probably for like November, but you can't do the job. So
What does that mean what does that mean for the ice rink?
the ice rink is not, I don't believe the ice rink is ever going to work on that tennis court. Ever. I think we need to reconsider where else we could have one, but I don't think we need, if we put it up there, we're just going to damage the court that we just repaired.
So there already has been some work done, so we don't want to put it on
Nope.
this year until,
The leveling's been done,
okay.
so the court needs to be closed.
I would like, in regard to the ice rink, I'd like the board to think about before the next meeting, if possible, where we might be able to put that, make a possible sand bed. And if the road crew's tied up because we don't have, materials, maybe we could prep that rink someplace. So, just try to think about what you might like to do or where you might think it might go.
Reasonably close to a water source.
Yeah, I know it takes a lot of water, so, but at least if we're thinking about it and when we come back together next time, we can maybe come to some kind of helpful conclusion. I did have one other thing to add. We did have an executive session, surprised all of us here, 10 minutes before the general meeting tonight to discuss a legal matter with our solicitor. So I just wanted to get that out there and on record. Anybody else for good and welfare? Hearing none. Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Hello.
Okay, there you are.
Can you see me and hear me?
Yep.
Well, Sharon Ravancic came to you all during citizens' comments, and she spoke about her family and also how the Hispanic population in Halfmoon Township has increased. She mentioned that September is Hispanic Heritage History Month. When the previous board passed the Asian American Heritage Month resolution, I was surprised by the number of citizens in the township who reached out to members of the Halfmoon Inclusion and Diversity Alliance to express their gratitude at being recognized and welcomed. Passing a resolution costs this board nothing, but it increases the feeling of goodwill and belonging for all members of our community. And I would like to ask the board to reconsider their previous vote and move to demonstrate to everybody that Halfmoon Township is a welcoming community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions or feedback for me?
Anyone? It's not at this time, but thank you.
Wow. Okay, so I guess the main point is that we're not a welcoming community. Thank you.
We're certainly not an unwelcoming community.
Well, that's kind of easy for you to say, but if you were a member of a citizenry that is asking to be acknowledged, and you're being told, no, we won't acknowledge you. That is not welcoming.
All right.
And if I may, yeah, I'm half Japanese and half Hispanic and Latino. And to not be acknowledged by a resolution like Virginia says, that truly costs nothing. That just says you are here, your children are here, you know, Hispanics and Latinos make contribution to agriculture, which Half Moon is a huge, you know, we talk about all the time, we're farmers, we raise cows, we're ranchers, and business, education, the military, which my son is a part of. I mean, and you're saying that you can't, it's just like Virginia says, costs nothing, except just some goodwill.
We're not saying anything.
That's the point. And I'll be quiet now.
Well, you don't have to be quiet, you're certainly welcome to speak.
So why
Yes,
not
please.
have a week or a month that's dedicated to all heritages, and then we just celebrate everybody, instead of pointing out and separating people out? Why
Well-
not combining people together? I mean, I'm part American Indian, I'm part German, you know, I have a lot of my parts we could celebrate every week if we brought in everybody's heritage. Why not
Well,
celebrate?
I do think that like there are different months for different things, and I
Yeah,
just
but there's only
landed
12
on this
months in a
one.
year.
What?
There's only 12 months in the year, and there's lots of different nationalities to celebrate.
Sure. I landed on this one. People are, I mean, just because, you know, just because you do
My
one
kids are
doesn't
Norwegian,
exclude
can we have a
others.
Norwegian month?
I mean, I'm Russian and Serbian, I don't see a month for that, so.
Is there one?
No.
I don't know.
Well, we could make
I don't
one.
know.
Yes, please.
I'd like to suggest a Half Moon Heritage Month, in which we celebrate all the people who've come to Halfmoon Township and made it the great township that we all love to live in.
That would be wonderful, and the Half Moon Inclusion and Diversity Alliance Group would be more than happy to work on that at a future date. We tried last spring to have a inclusion event at the park, but this is a national month where our national government and our state government has recognized Hispanic contributions to our country. When you go down to Way's Fruit Farm, I think we should recognize the contributions that all of the people, not all, but a lot of the people who work there are Hispanic. It costs nothing to do this, and if other groups want to propose a Heritage Month or a resolution, by all means, it is about celebrating the diversity that is in not only this country, but also this township. And it costs nothing.
Well, I would rather unify than divide, but I think you're right. I think maybe we ought to pass a resolution to recognize all the heritage. We're all from someplace else. Most of us are not pure A, B, C, or D. I mean, I probably got at least 12 different backgrounds in my family that I even know of, and I have no idea on most of them. So I think it's better to unify and say we're citizens of Halfmoon Township and we're glad to be here.
I'd like to see a month where we have a multicultural heritage festival.
That's a good idea.
We could
Bring
certainly
some
do
Amish
that,
food.
but I think the move of the board tonight to not pass this resolution is more divisive than.
Well, I believe that's an opinion. And I think we have 2,700 and then some, and some change, opinions in this township. And I think we should respect all opinions equally. Mr. Chairman, I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Motion moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.